and we are back with another episode of the Forsyth Mags podcast. And today I have Christy Spencer with Robert Hall. Hey, Christy.
Hello, Brooke. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on. I'm glad it worked out.
Yes, thank you.
So I want to dive right in. I want to talk a little bit about Christy and your history with JKS and how that kind of has morphed into this passion project of Robert Hall.
Great. Well, so I, it's funny when people ask me. I mean, I've been at JKS for 35 years, I think now, 34,
No.
35. Yeah, which is
You
really
don't even look 35 years old,
excellent.
though.
That's what I want to hear. Yeah. I was 18.
I was 5 when I started.
Exactly. I was 5. I was 18 when I came to work at JKS.
Wow.
And really, Will and I were dating, and his receptionist quit. And I had been at UNC Charlotte all of 30 days and basically said, this is not for me, came home, went back and got my part-time job at the mall, and then started helping Will. And I'd already helped him a little bit while I was in high school, so I understood what we did. And I learned, I was in the back in the shop, doing vinyl graphics and answering the phones at the same time and learning how to do bookkeeping on the fly, which is a little frightening. And then I eventually ended up going back to Forsyth Tech. It took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree. And I joke about that. Slow and steady. But when you work 2 jobs, I had a full-time job, a part-time job, and going to school, that was just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been there a long time, and I've, helped Will grow that business. And so that's my primary job, and JKS is an interesting company. It's we call it a white label. We don't really get to advertise the things we do because we do work for large marketing companies, and we have, non-disclosures about the cool projects that we do. We build some really, really interesting displays, and for many years, very much NASCAR-centric. So we still build show cars for race teams and the NASCAR Hall of Fame. But through that, Will and I have been in the Industry Hill neighborhood here in Winston-Salem. Will bought his first building in 1984.
Oh, wow.
And the reason he bought it is because it was affordable.
Because that area in 1984, I can't really even imagine.
No, you really can't. And actually, even when I came to work I met Will in 88. I came to work in 89. It was not a place where most people would go.
Yeah.
So, it kind of it
put it nicely.
Yeah, it toughens you up a little bit.
Yeah.
I have seen it all on Liberty Street. But watching that neighborhood grow, and through the years, Will was able to buy additional buildings so that our business was growing, and we needed a bigger footprint. And so, that neighborhood, when we bought the buildings, there's a building beside of us. That's where Robert Hall is now. And the man who owned it, his name was Bob McCormick. And he was a dear, dear family friend, just a good man. And when he passed away, he made sure that we could get the building from his estate for a very, very little amount of money. And that's how good of a man he was.
Aww.
So we had the building for years and mothballed it, because we moved our business to Welcome, North Carolina. We ended up needing more space, build a building in Welcome, and the buildings on Liberty Street just kind of sat empty. And during that time period between 2007 and when we came back in 2020, there was just this huge shift in the neighborhood. It was exciting to see it happening, but we were watching it from a distance, which is, kind of hard. And then when COVID hit, and I had the pleasure of becoming the president of the business and the majority owner in 2019, the Welcome property just didn't make sense for us anymore. It was just bigger than what I wanted to deal with, and we naturally downsized through COVID. So when we got to come back to Winston, in the middle of that, we were renovating those buildings. Will had decided he wanted a brewery. He had a vision that a brewery would be the right fit for the backside of the Robert Hall building. And that's how he ended up getting in touch with the guys who started Radar. Those guys were looking for space, and I think they were looking in Greensboro, looking in Winston. And that was kind of the first phase, cleaning out that building and then figuring out what in the world to do with all the stuff that he had stored in the building.
Oh, gosh. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, he would say he's not a hoarder. I would disagree with that.
I hope he doesn't listen to this.
Oh, he knows. I'd say it to his face. He collects cars. The bar that's at Capone's was stored in the building where Radar was. And there was very little roof on that building. It was like a patchwork of tarps and
Oh my
catching
gosh.
water. Yeah. And so
What year was this?
So we probably started cleaning out the building back where Radar is. We started cleaning that out, I would say 2018.
Okay.
The idea was that was going to be a brewery, and the front side of the building could be a restaurant. It could have been a bar. We knew the very front side where Bob's offices were. That just needed to be an Airbnb. And the concept was, at the time, people were traveling and they were doing these brewery tours. And if you came to Winston, you could stay really close to all the breweries in the Airbnb. And those were the ideas we were throwing around. We're both very creative people and kind of take an old building and can see it in its worst state and have that visual of what it can be.
Which everyone does not have that talent. That's a big talent.
It is. Well, I think it's, you kind of have to be a bit of a dreamer, you know, and even if it doesn't work out exactly how you planned it, you find ways to get around it. So, that was probably 2018, 2019. Radar ended up moving into their building. We got it finished right at the beginning of 2020, right before COVID. I know. And they had their big grand opening, and then, the world fell apart. So, we stopped that project. Of course, you have to think we're doing that and we're doing JKS at the same time because we like to have a lot going on. And then, as things started to change, I moved my primary office back to Winston-Salem. So our machine shop is still down in Welcome. And
I didn't realize that. But y'all have some, I feel like y'all have some machines.
Yeah, we do. We have printing equipment at Liberty Street.
Okay.
But like our machine shop, we have like a huge press brake. We have a water jet, things that you would need to build, metal displays, cut parts, and build race cars.
Yeah.
All of that's down still in Welcome.
Okay.
But my offices, the majority of our staff and the printing capabilities are all on Liberty Street now.
Okay. I wish y'all could see her office. It is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you decorate it?
I did. Yeah.
It's so pretty.
I always say, that's probably, I don't think I could have done that for a living because then I'd just be irritated that someone wasn't able to go out on a limb. When you're dealing with couples trying to redo a house, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be difficult?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is my passion. Aesthetics, creating spaces and environments where people aren't even sure why they're so happy in the space. They just know that they love it.
Yeah.
And in my job at JKS, when we would build out displays for clients, and we've built custom motor coaches and mobile office trailers, I've been able to flex that muscle some. My primary job really is pushing numbers and paperwork and doing the not such fun stuff.
Yeah.
But when we started to do the Robert Hall project, and it evolved into, instead of doing, and restaurants weren't going to make it, this was COVID, it was thinking about private event spaces and the need for that in our community.
Yes.
There's just not a lot of unique places. I mean, there are hotel lobbies, there's convention centers, but if you're looking for that personalized space that represents Winston-Salem, there just aren't a lot of options, or at least there wasn't then.
Yep.
And so I did get to flex that creative interior designer part of me.
Oh my gosh.
It's
the whole space is so beautiful.
Thank you. That it really, it just, and it evolved, it's not like I had some big grand vision for it. I just knew that adding layers, like anytime you design something, it really is the layering. That's what creates the environment. And so we put the bar, the beautiful
Tell us
mahogany
the story
bar.
about the bar.
So, Will being the person that he is, he's kind of he's one of those guys who he collects things, and he on eBay one night bought this bar, this 25-foot mahogany bar, sight unseen. And the story behind it was he knew that it was from Detroit, Michigan. We have a lot of guys that travel. We have lots of trailers and equipment. So he sends our guys up there to pay for this bar and pick it up. And they go to an old railway switch station. So it looks a little iffy, and they're like, oh God. And
what did he send us
exactly.
into?
And they take a 30-foot trailer up there because they've got to pick up this bar, and they go in, and the guy tells them that the story is that it came out of an Al Capone haunt near Detroit, Michigan. I think the name of the city is like Bellevue or something like that. And So that's the story, like
Yeah.
that's the story. We're sticking with it. Well, we get the bar back. Obviously, it's in pieces. We never saw it put together again until
Wow.
it landed in the spot where it is now. And actually, Will pretty much put that back together himself. I mean, just, he's got the ability to make things and fix things, and so he put it all back together. And then he also found there's a cash register there. So the bar's probably like 1910. It was probably built in 1910. Cash register around the same age, found about 30 miles away. And I think he found it a couple of weeks later or a month or two later, but it's like the perfect fit for
Yeah.
the bar. And he's convinced that they are married, that
Yeah.
they were together.
And he just brought him back together.
He brought them back together. He restored the cash register, so now it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It adds to just
so this
the whole
bar.
look.
That's where the name Capone's came
Yes.
from.
Yes.
Because the bar. So not to jump around everywhere, but we have Robert Hall, and then we have Capone's bar.
Yes.
Kind of tell us the.
So Capone's is the upstairs private bar space in the total space. So Robert Hall is about 6,500 square feet of private event space. So Capone's is about 2,500, 3,000 square feet. And it has this beautiful mahogany bar. It can be rented out all by itself. So again, it's not open to the public. We're not serving drinks out of there. We've had a lot of people come knock on the door.
You're like, no.
But it is a fantastic space for, a rehearsal dinner or a corporate event. You guys had your Christmas party up there.
It was beautiful.
It is definitely, I think it has this luxurious feel to it that's like an ode to the past, but yet it doesn't feel old.
Yeah.
And then downstairs, because I knew we were going to name Capone's, the downstairs is a darker space, a little bigger layout. So that's where we do seated dinners. We can seat up to about 120, 130 people downstairs. And we named it the Vault, because it is kind of darker and underneath.
Moody.
Yeah, a little moody.
Yeah.
And then outside we have the garden space, which is, a beautiful paved patio right there and, beside the building. I think what's unique about it is there's just not a lot of spaces in downtown where you can entertain outside. And we're on the northern edge of downtown.
That's pretty too.
Yeah, that's pretty. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is a really, at night particularly, it's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
So, it's just evolved. I mean, honestly, it's, I had a vision for it. I think we knew that it would be successful. But I know how to run my business, but I don't know anything about event spaces. So Jenny Hess, who you know very well.
Love Jenny.
Me too. She is my bestie. She is my sister from another mother and father. I really went to her.
Sister from another
Sister
mister.
from another mister. Exactly. I went to her for her advice on I see it, but I don't know where to start. And she, of course, has so much experience with events and weddings. And so she told me I needed to talk to Christopher Walter, who worked with her when he was at Footnote.
Chris is great.
He is great, and he has been just a godsend, honestly. I obviously have another job, so I can't devote 100% to this.
Sure.
And I brought him at the right time. I think he probably thought they'll never get the space finished. I think we brought him in February of 22, and he was like, good luck. But so it took us a long time, to get it all finished.
But it takes a long time to do things the right way.
When you're dealing with, it's an old building. That means anytime you run into, things you cannot anticipate.
Sure.
Permitting, city of Winston-salem, all the things that just.
Is it a
It is
historic
not.
building
It's not
too?
registered. That would have created a whole nother level of,
So thank
of
goodness.
things. Yes, and it's a great building, but it actually doesn't have the the lineage to be considered historic. But it is an old building.
Yeah.
And so we brought him in, and he's just become part of the JKS family. He's just really good at what he does, and he loves what he does.
Yeah.
So, and here recently we've gotten so busy that I have brought in someone who's worked for me at JKS for many years, Mary Elizabeth. She is now doing the sales because Chris can't do sales and events anymore.
Yeah.
We're just busy enough.
A great problem to have.
It is a great problem to have, and it's, as a business owner, those are the problems where I'm good at solving those kind of problems. I know what to do there. We've also brought in Thirsty Buffalo as our bar partner.
I love Jessica and Matt.
Oh
They're
my
great.
gosh. And that was Chris's
They
idea.
are.
He was like, I can't do the bar, the events. And
Yeah. Well, and they are just the most
Yeah.
incredible bartenders
They are
of all time.
And I think they came to us really and said, we're looking. This is our next step in our business,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to do it with you. What you've brought to the city, the elevated experience is what we're looking to create as well. So that's been a beautiful partnership.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and it's just then that's one less thing to have to worry about, right? I mean,
Yeah, because
I don't know anything about a bar.
Yeah, with a team like that, you really have no worries.
I mean, it's been fantastic. So I jump in, I love to do the tours.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it.
Well, because it's your baby. You're
It's my
passionate
baby.
about it.
I don't get to do them a lot anymore,
Yeah.
but particularly when we get to the Airbnb space. So the Huntley House, is the freestanding Airbnb. It has
But it's also connected.
It's connected
Yeah.
with the doorway. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has 5 bedrooms, and it's so there's 4 bedrooms upstairs, 1 downstairs. That's an ADA compliant bedroom, and it doesn't have a kitchen, but it has a microwave and a coffee maker. It's kind of like going to like a very small European hotel.
Yep. That's exactly what it feels like.
It feels like that, and I literally decorated it and designed it to feel that way. We started thinking about the Airbnb prior to 2020, and during COVID, my mother-in-law, who I was very, very close to, I just absolutely adored her. I pick and always say, I'd take her over Will any day of the week. She called me the 4th child and the good one, and she only had 3. So I mean, we were really very close. She very sadly at 92 just it's like age caught up with her. She worked at the snob shop. She was worked there 40 years.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
So her friend started the snob shop.
Okay.
Marguerite Lord and Margot. Oh gosh, my brain's not working on me. But anyway, Margot Majette. So they started it, and Anne went to work for them, and then they sent her home though. During COVID, and so
Yeah.
age caught up with her. She slowed down, and she sadly passed away. So we ended up with a house full of furniture. My mother-in-law was a collector of furniture, like Will's a collector of cars.
Yeah.
And she lived
That's
in
where
this,
he gets it from.
Yes, it was genetically prone. And so I got to take some of her pieces and put it in the Huntley House.
That's
And
so special.
It really is for me. We obviously her house sold, and my sister-in-law got a lot of pieces too, obviously. But that's when I go in there, it's like I feel like I'm with her.
Oh,
and
that's special.
I named all the rooms related to his family tree, and my mother-in-law was a painter, so I have a lot of her paintings in there, and all of her hilarious family pictures. It looks like the wall of shame in anybody's house, right? With all these old photos. Some of them are kind of creepy, and it
awesome.
lends to a. I tell people it's like you have that weird aunt, who she's really cool, but she's a little odd.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Oh
Just
my
a little
gosh.
funky.
I love that.
But that's a special space too. So I think it's actually been such a huge benefit to us, because when brides come to rent out, which we have a lot of weddings, they've got this great space to entertain in. They can spend the night beforehand. They can stay that night with their husband.
So can you said it's 5 bedrooms.
5 bedrooms.
Are they separate
Yes.
rentals?
Yes. So actually on Airbnb, you can rent out each individual room.
Okay.
Or the entire space.
very cool.
I don't rent it out a lot. It is definitely not in line with other Airbnb properties near us.
Yeah.
But, for the furniture market particularly, I had a guy with a company in New York, and he wanted his whole team to stay together. They came and stayed on site, like Wake Forest University graduation, football games. It's perfect for that.
For sure.
But it is definitely an elevated experience as well. So it's not like your normal Airbnb.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that I don't want to say trend, 'cause I don't think it's a trend, but I love that the style of decor the last few years has gone more to finding these very specific pieces that you love.
Yeah.
That are even thrifted, or they're old. They're from, heirlooms. I think that's just so much more warm and cozy.
Absolutely.
Than what the decor style has been before that.
Yeah, I think I call it eclectic chic. Like I would
Yes,
say
yeah.
my home is this way.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law particularly, she had a lot of old pieces. So it's, it's so sad when you see like family photos that have just been thrown out. And so giving these places a place to live, to have a new home,
Yeah.
it adds to that. It adds to our tie to Winston-Salem. I mean, Will's family's been here, I think he's 4th generation. My family, we've been here 3 generations. And it's a special place to us. We love it here.
That's
So,
awesome. That's awesome. So we have a very special event coming up at
Yes.
Robert Hall. We have our Galentine's Girls Night Out. It's going to be on Galentine's Day, which is February 13th, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
And this podcast episode will come out a couple weeks before that. So make sure you grab your ticket.
Yeah, we are so excited.
Oh my gosh,
We've
I know
got some cool stuff.
People
planned.
have already bought. I have people
I know.
messaging me out there like, I already got my ticket.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. That is really, and that's why, getting new people in the space. I mean, that's so exciting for us.
Yeah,
It's,
so
it's
if you
just a great
haven't,
opportunity.
if you haven't been to Robert Hall yet, this is a great opportunity to check it out. It is such a beautiful space.
Thank
It's
you.
great for, like Christy said, for corporate events, for weddings, and this Galentine's is going to be so much fun.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Bring your
Thank you.
girlfriends.
Yes.
We're encouraging pink and or red attire, but certainly not required. We'll let you in.
We'll let you in
other
anyway.
colors.
But we'll want to photograph you if you have
Yeah.
those colors on. Right.
And we have Thirsty Buffalo doing some really fun signature cocktails.
Yeah, and I believe it's 1618 who's going to
Yes.
be doing the food, so
Yeah.
that'll be fantastic. It's really going to be fun. We're
It is
gonna
gonna
we're
be
gonna do
fun.
it up right.
We'll put the ticket link in the show notes so you can click on that and grab your ticket ahead of time.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So, where do you see Robert Hall, the future of Robert Hall? What else do you guys have in store?
Will and I, we always have like crazy ideas in our head. To me, this is my, JKS is my primary job, but I would love to think this can be like, one day I do want to retire, like I'm getting older. Well, I mean, retire means have
Loose
just
term.
one job, right? Instead of like 5.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, it's a good plan. So I think being able to continue to, like, one of the things I've been able to do is take this space and host a lot of nonprofits in it.
I know you have a lot of nonprofits that are near and dear to you.
Near and dear to my heart. And being able to bring those into the space to help their cause, like that is just, it's such a good way to give back to the community.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a feel good for me. So I hope that's the future. That building space and the neighborhood is growing, and especially we've got a new church that's opened up around the corner. Brunson Elementary is going to be being built next door to the new church.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, they've cleared the land. It was formerly the Huntley manufacturing plant, which was Will's great-grandfather.
Okay.
And they tore down the manufacturing plant, and they're building these. So the neighborhood has a lot of potential to grow in the next couple of years. So we have some other pieces of property that we own that we haven't developed.
Yeah.
And, as
That are in nearby.
in Industry Hill. Oh yeah,
Okay.
that is, I joke. I mean, I do sleep at my primary house, but I promise I spend a lot more time on Liberty Street than I do at home.
Well, if you ever need a history lesson of downtown Winston-Salem, Christy and Will.
Yeah, it's really more Will. Christy
should
can
write.
mimic.
You guys should write a series for the magazine.
Yeah,
truly.
He really, Will has so much passion for Winston and for the motorsports industry. So we're kind of exploring that too. We've just recently closed the museum and going to try to figure out how to do like some kind of digital platform. And Will is a great storyteller. So we've done some podcasts with him and done some videos. Yeah. Okay. Look, see, I've got somebody going. Yes. And he is a great storyteller.
Yeah.
So I think that will be part of our future too.
Very
like
cool.
finding ways to talk about the Winston-Salem history, Will's racing history, merging those. We've got a lot of things we still want to do. So we're not, when I say retire, it means just, not having to, when you have a lot of employees and a lot of, it's, you've got to dedicate a lot of time to it.
Yeah,
So,
to managing a team.
to managing a
sure.
team. So Robert Hall is like, it's the perfect fit for me because my team is smaller there and it's something I can really get into and enjoy.
I love that you're so passionate about it. That's great.
Thank you.
It's
It
good to
really
have
is.
something like that. That you're.
It is absolutely, especially, at my age, I'm soon to be 53. So like, it's, you get to a point you're like, I've done the really hard stuff, there ought to be some fun stuff too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is kind of the next part of my life. The next stage is going to be this really getting to be involved in the community more and being back in Winston from being gone, our business for so long.
Well, because
really
Welcome is a pretty...
It's another city. I mean, it's, you know, when you're commuting, you know, that's what you're doing. You're commuting 25 minutes, you know, both ways. It has really changed, I think, the quality of my life being back in Winston and the things that I've been able to do. So
that's awesome.
It's very, very rewarding.
So as we wrap things up, I have one last question for you.
Yes.
What is the best advice that you've ever received?
Oh, gosh.
You know, that first comes to mind.
I know. What the first thing that comes to mind is accepting things for what they are and not what you want them to be.
Oof. Yep.
Yeah, and isn't that tough? That's a hard one. And it's not that I've mastered it by any means, but it's like, you know, my mother-in-law, one of the things she would say that made me insane was, it is what it is. And now, as I've gotten older, I really do, like, I think what she was really saying is, before you can find a solution, you have to accept the facts of the situation. It is what it is. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that's happening or be happy about it. But that's the only way to move forward, is to accept it for what it is.
Gosh, that's so true.
Yeah. No, when I was young, I would have said no. And now I'm like, no, it is what it is. So you move forward.
You can't have, you know, complete control over really anything.
I'm a control freak, so that's really hard. That's like the biggest pill to swallow. I'm not in control? What do you mean?
Yeah. But it's kind of freeing. I've kind of recently had the same epiphany where I've kind of let go of a lot of control. I don't know if you're familiar with Mel Robbins, but she has the let them theory.
No.
Like, you just got to let people do what they're going to do. Because you can try to control them, but it's really, it's more stressful for you and the other person, and it's not really helpful.
Absolutely. Learning that you really aren't in charge of anyone but yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm still learning it, but I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. Well, you know, admitting it for me was the first step. So
it is. It's like anything. It's like, I've got a problem.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Christy, I am so excited for
Thank you.
Robert Hall and the future of Robert Hall, and I'm very excited for our Galentine's G&O.
Me too. Listen, thank you so much. This is so much fun for us, and we appreciate your confidence in us. We're going to throw a big, fun party.
It's going to be so great. I
yes,
can't
it
wait.
is. Me either.
So you can find Robert Hall on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It is Robert Hall, WSNC.
Okay. We'll put that in our show notes so people can follow along. And as always, you can find Forsyth Mags on Instagram at Forsyth Mags. And you can read all of our content at our websites, forsythwoman.com and forsythfamilymagazine.com. And that's a wrap for today. The views and opinions stated on this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Forsyth Magazines Incorporated. Ooh, that's a mouthful.